about 5 to 6% of those kids have what we call dyslexia or learning disabilities in reading.
There's a difference between a student who is a quote-unquote instructional casualty. In other words, a student who has not flourished in the schools, who has not had access to the right kind of teaching, a student whom the schools have failed in some way. There's a difference between that kind of student and a student with an underlying neurobiological learning disability. So a LD, learning disability, is not acquired. It's there. It's lifelong. It's real. The term itself is an umbrella term and really encompasses a wide range of disorders and problems, the biggest one being dyslexia or reading disability.
From the behavioral data with twin studies, which is the primary source of information we have about genetic influences comparing identical and fraternal twins, we know that the genetic influences on dyslexia are quite strong on average. Doesn't mean that everybody's dyslexia is due to genes, but in the groups that we study, about half or perhaps a bit more of the group deficit in reading seems to be tied into genetic influences. And so for some individuals, most of their problem is probably related to genes, and for others, maybe very little or none. So there's a lot of variability, but just giving people the information that some people are going to have difficulty learning for reasons that are not their fault. It's also, I think, a good point to note it's not the fault of the teachers necessarily, or the parents.
And dependent upon who you're reading, the number of dyslexics in the population, we see anything from 5 to 20%. It's probably, I think NICHD talks about 5 to 10%. IDA's literature talks about 15 to 20%. Regardless, even if we just kind of settle on a middle number, let's say 10 in every 100, all right? That still leaves a huge number of individuals who are not dyslexic, whose brains aren't wired in a different way, who have reading difficulty.